What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to go through all of the Pool 1 cards and discuss a full-blown tier list of every single card. Discuss why they're at where I'm putting them, either at high S tier or low D tier. Break down, what each reason is, and also the power levels I think they have, but this is all from the perspective of a Pool 1 player. Some of these cards will go up in value as you get to Pool 2 and 3. I'm not trying to look at that, but just looking at if I have all of Pool 1 as my collection, where would I put these cards in a tier list just based on that. So that's where that's at. I'm going to go through every one of these cards, and I made this on Tier List Maker. So some of these arts and numbers and stats are a bit outdated. For example, the Hulk is a 6 energy, 11 power here. He's actually a 12 power in Marvel Snap currently. That might change again. It's a live game, so they will change. So other than that, and some of the arts being different, everything else is accurate. These are all Pool 1 cards. So let's go through from the bottom to the top why I'm rating these cards. You'll notice first that I have vanilla units down on D, and all of those are units that have no abilities. I don't think they have much value at all until you get to a lot higher of a pool, into Pool 3 and unlock cards like Patriot. So I put the Hulk in C just because he has pure power, but beside that, I have Shocker, Misty Knights, and Cyclops all in Pool D. I don't think they belong any higher for this start. Then I have the two pull to your hand cards, Quicksilver and Domino. America Chavez I have a lot higher, and I'll explain that later. But these two cards, while they seem decent when you're just starting the game because you get early curve and on curve units, I don't find them worth it at all. The Thing is another one of the vanilla cards here. I missed that one. Then I have Bishop. Bishop is essentially just a little too slow for me, not quite strong enough. He's also 1 power now. Not my favorite. I love discard aggro. I've made a few videos on discard based decks, but Strong Guy was way too inconsistent for me to consider. I put him in a few different decks, tried him a bunch, and just shouldn't make the cut, in my opinion. I think he doesn't hit his ability enough, and I'd rather play many other 4-drops. Then I have Uatu, the Watcher, up next. If you don't have this card early, it's just kind of a dead 1 attack, 1 energy, 2 power, which is okay, but I don't find his ability worth it in most cases. Now, if there's like a really crazy, location-based thing that's happening, like a hot location, you really want to know where it's at, I could see you maybe want to try him, but I'd still put him pretty low. Then I have Angel, who, while synergizes with some of the discard package or the destroy package, he flies out of your deck and comes to your board. I just think that he kind of fits in an awkward spot. Sometimes you have him in your hand and you never really want to play him. Sometimes he flies out, but you still have to play something to destroy him later. And I play a ton of destroy decks. It's actually my favorite archetype in the game. Don't find Angel worth it. Even in the Pool 1 version, don't find him that worth it. So that's why I put him in D. There's an argument to put him in C. Then I have Morph as the last D card. Morph essentially is just a random pile of garbage. He can become something insane from the opponent. If you play it late in the game, sure, they might have more high cost cards, and he could become something insane, but he also could just become something absolutely terrible. He's just really hit or miss. Don't really like Morph at all. There is times you get the location that swaps their cost and power. That's great because then he's a 0/3. And he essentially turns into something else anyway, so he's a 0 cost unit. Outside of that one location popping up, don't think Morph's worth it. Going up to the C tier. So here I am including some cards that I find on the power level scale, and then some cards that I find overall that type of deck in Pool 1 . So I'm going to talk about the discard package first. Like I said, I love the discard package. I think there's a lot of fun synergies. I just don't find the deck very strong in just Pool 1. I think you need some of the Pool 2 and Pool 3 cards to make this deck really swing. I really like Swarm, and I really like Morbius from Pool 2, and then there's some more in Pool 3. So I put most of the discard cards down here. So we have Blade, Lady Sif, Apocalypse, etc. So I put those down here. I find them pretty I put the other 2 vanilla units of Abomination and the Hulk here because they at least have some power. So they have a reason. If you just need a really powerful 5 or 6 drop, your deck's not going for a specific synergy, but you just need to slot in some high power unit, they're okay. Swordmaster also fits into the discard. I missed him. Yondu up next kind of just destroys a card from your opponent's deck. It could be good because you get to destroy a random card. It could destroy one of their key pieces. It could just destroy a 1-drop, but it also gives you a little bit of knowledge from their deck. So he's got some decent value. I put also some of the destroy package down here because, again, in pool one, I feel like you kind of have to mix the destroy and discard package. So I just don't think they're super strong for pool one. I don't want discard and destroy players coming at me in the comments here, although feel free to. I really like both those archetypes. I just don't think they're that strong in pool one. So Deathlock fits here. Korg fills the deck with a rock, so he can at least slow your opponent's draw down and kind of make a funny thing. It's just not super consistent. You really don't draw that many cards throughout the game. So they have a chance to draw the rock, which is funny. So Korg's okay. Forge is a boosting unit. I think there's a lot of crazy synergies now that Black Panther's out in the game. This is when I'm making this video, but he's decent. He has some pretty unique synergies, like with Mr. Sinister and things like that. I just don't find him as consistent as a lot of the other cards. Some of the movement stuff is pretty decent in Pool 1. So Iron Fist could possibly be Pool B. I put most of the movement stuff in Pool B and C. Iron Fist is pretty key to that deck, so there's an argument for either. The Lizard is a pretty strong unit. He's got 5 attack, and he's a ongoing unit, which pairs well with Spectrum, but in general, he can be counterplayed against and go down to a 2. Mantis is a, on reveal, you get to steal a card from the opponent's deck. Not bad, just doesn't hit all that often. Nova fits down here for the same reason. Discard package, or destroy package, isn't super great in pool 1. Professor X, I want to like him, and you have a pretty unique shutdown mechanic. That's pretty cool. I just think without Storm early as well, like you don't have Storm in pool 1 right now, so I don't think Professor X is that great without her. I really like to have the idea of controlling multiple locations, and just slotting in Professor X in pool 1 never really made it for me. Medusa's just a solid, okay unit. It's just you're kind of forced to play her in the middle to get any good value out of her, so that's why she's kind of down at C. Moving up to B, I'm going into cards that I think have a little bit more value than I just mentioned, and also fit into multiple decks and accompany multiple synergies, or just have flat value. So I did put most of the other Guardians in this slot, other than Mantis. So we have Rocket, Groot, Star-Lord, and Gamora. They are all pretty fun. I think they get better as you get more cards, but because you can essentially predict a little bit better when you're shutting down locations with Storm and other cards in Pool 2. But for now, I still think they're solid units that can gain a lot of power and be pretty solid. Then I just have some other generic units. So we're going to go through. We got the Sentinel, who is a consistent draw engine. He's solid. Wolfsbane works really well with big, spread out unit decks. Wolverine fits in the discard and destroy package, which in pool 1 is kind of the same deck. But Wolverine also kind of fits in both of them separately moving forward. He's just a solid 2-3. Cable is a draw from the opponent's deck, which is really just a good card to draw. Good draw card. Hulkbuster is really solid in move decks, but he's also just pretty solid in general. 3 energy for 4 power is good, and he doesn't take up a slot, so I think he deserves a spot in B. Captain America is really good. He's a 3 for 3, but you're going to play him in a location with hopefully 3 other things, which will boost him up to giving you essentially 6 power at one location for 3 mana. Very solid. You just need to play him in Swarm decks. Colossus is a can't be destroyed or have his power reduced card, which is really good for a lot of different locations. So that's why I'm putting him in B. A lot of locations are going to try to have their power reduced every turn. Cards here get -3 power, they get -1 power, they get -1 every turn, etc. He doesn't allow any of that to happen. He's just a really good card, even without you needing other stuff. Colossus is just a solid card location wise. Iron Man could be convinced to put Iron Man in A. He doubles the power of a location. He can be viewed as a little bit of a win more card because he's just kind of boosting one location. He doesn't really help swing a separate location, so that's why I put him at B. You kind of need to play him where you have a decent amount of power already. And if he's going to swing, you already have to have a decent amount of power there to play him to swing it. You can't just swing the location by himself. Then I fill in this with a couple of the move cards. Doctor Strange, Heimdall, Kraven, Multiple Man, all solid cards. I just think the move deck gets a lot better in later pools, but not terrible. I just think, like I said, you need like Cloak and a few other move cards in pools 2 and 3 to make that deck really feel good. So I put them all in B for now, or at least most of them. Jessica Jones, her stats are totally different now, but she is really solid. Just a good 4 attack. Goes up to an 8 if you don't play anything. You can just naturally do that. It's really good value as long as you can predict where you want to go. But she gets better as you get more cards as well. Then I have Mr. Fantastic, who just pretty much needs to go in the middle but provides 6 power. So he's a little bit one-sided, but he provides a lot of power, which is great, and he can spread that power out. Mr. Sinister counts as 2 bodies. He pairs well with hand buff stuff, which in Pool 1 there's not a ton of. But there is other good things like Carnage that work well with Mr. Sinister, and just especially just going wide. Mr. Sinister helps you do that, so he helps you get cards like Blue Marvel buffing the whole board, Captain America, etc. more online. Up next, we have Namor, who is, I would want to put him in A. I'm a little biased. I love Namor. I think he can win a solo location really nicely. And it's super fun to buff his spot with like Mr. Fantastic and Claw. But put him in B realistically, although I think he got worse as I unlocked more things. So looking back, Namor could definitely be convinced to put in A. Then we just have Punisher and Armor, both just solid ongoing units that can kind of pair with ongoing decks. Armor shuts down things a lot later in the game, so she gets better, but even now, she can still shut down opponents' things and protect your own. So really solid. A pool kind of gets a little bit more serious. These are cards I think are consistently really good for pool 1. So we have Spectrum up first. I actually prefer Spectrum to Onslaught, but we'll talk about both of those. They're both ongoing deck finishers, and they're really, really powerful. Spectrum lets you go a little bit wider. Onslaught has a lot of fun abilities by making either Iron Man completely dominate a location or Blue Marvel buff your whole board, etc. Spider Woman, she's totally different stats now as well, but she is really good. She is an on reveal card, which you can double with Odin later, but you can also just win the location by providing for 5 mana, 7 attack, and then minus up to 4 on the opponent's side. It's really strong. Squirrel Girl is key and was actually the last pool 1 card I pulled, which is super frustrating because she is a key to a lot of decks. A lot of like zoo-based decks, people call it. So decks that want to have a lot of units everywhere, go wide really quick. She's a really key part to that and pairs really well with Kazar. Scarlet Witch is one of the best tech cards in the game still throughout any pool. She definitely deserves a spot in A. She essentially can shut down a location. She could have a bad effect by you changing the location to something bad, but still worth it for your deck because she can swing a location that's not going well by just changing whatever the effect is that's screwing you. Enchantress is great. I put her with Cosmo both in A. They both have really good abilities to shut down opponent strategies of either on reveal or ongoing. White Queen is just 4 energy for 6 power, and you get to draw essentially their best card in their hand. Crazy good value. Not a particular synergy that she fits in, but she could go anywhere. Carnage is the heart of most destroy decks, as well with like Venom when you get later into the game, but Carnage is the heart of the destroy deck, but he also fits in these wide decks. He can just eat all the squirrels and Mr. Sinisters and all the smaller things become big, and then you can just go wide again. Love Carnage. I think he is very close to S tier. Claw, personally, just love Claw. Helps you get 4 power at one location and then 6 at another. Lets you spread out and really get going with some of those ongoing decks. Absolutely think Claw is amazing and underrated. Elektra is really good for pool 1. She destroys a 1-cost unit, and there's a lot of solid 1-cost units running around in pool 1, especially Ant-Man and Hawkeye, who are next. So her destroying those is really, really solid, and I think she could be maybe just considered a B, but I think when I'm just thinking about just pool 1, I put Elektra here. Hawkeye I'm putting in A as well. He could also be pool B, but in A, every little bit of power matters, and he essentially is a 1-drop who goes up to 3 power if you play something here next turn. Once you do that, you get 3 power there, and he fits in the Kazoo deck, which is the Kazar Zoo based deck, and he gets another power. So he's a lot of value, just as much as Ant-Man, who we'll go over, who is a 1-drop who gets +3 when the location's filled, and then he gets +1 from Kazar. So he's a 5, Hawkeye's a 4, lots of power there. Ironheart is a key to your on reveal decks. She does a ton of work by essentially letting you get +2 power to 3 different units, and doubling that with Odin is incredible, but she can even just be good even without Odin. Moon Girl has to go into A. She doubles, she duplicates your entire hand. I think she gets better as pulls go on, but she is pretty ridiculous for the Devil Dinosaur win condition, which we'll go over in S. Then I have Nightcrawler, who is, yes, a move-based card, but early in Pool 1, just having Nightcrawler out lets you really manipulate the board more than most decks allow you to, so that's why I have him here. And then finally I have to describe why America Chavez is this high, but essentially she's a guaranteed 6-drop with 9 power, which is solid, but she lets you thin your deck to 11 cards, which allows you to make a more consistent deck, which is desperately something you need in pool 1 since you don't have a full deck of perfect synergy. She lets you consistently hit those combos a little bit more, so she has to go in pool A for me. All right, we got pool S now. So pool S is cards that I think are game changing, that I think can win games by themselves, can just win locations by themselves, etc. Just really powerful cards. So Devil Dinosaur is of course going to be on that. He is insane. He's a 5 cost now with 3 power, but he gets +2 for every card in your hand, so a total of +14 since the max hand size is 7. So he can be a 17 power for 5. Nothing else in pool 1 can really compete with that on a 1-to-1 scale. So Devil Dinosaur could even be on a tier of his own in pool 1. I think he dominates pool 1. Extremely powerful card, and there's enough draw in pool 1 to make him really consistent. Odin is the heart of on-reveal decks. He essentially has to be in those on-reveal decks. If you want to play White Tiger, who I'll go over in a second, and the other on-reveal units like Ironheart, like Spider-Woman, etc., you need Odin to double those effects and make your board be insane. White Tiger I put up just as high as Odin because I think she's just as important as Odin. It's really the White Tiger into Odin combo that makes that deck so good. But essentially, White Tiger for 5 gives you a 1 power somewhere and then a 7 power somewhere else. But being able to do that again makes it insane. So there's a case to put White Tiger in A and leave Odin in S. But really, it's the combo of those two together. So I had to put them both together in my mind. Next, we have the 2 buff cards, which is Blue Marvel, who just buffs the entire board by +1. Well, your entire board, not your opponent's, which is a massive ability. It especially goes super well with these decks that want to go really wide and have 4 units in every location, because he buffs every other card, so he won't buff himself, but he will buff everything else. So if you fill every location, it's a total of +4, 4, 3, so 11 extra power, which is wild. Kazar is the same type of way. He buffs all your 1-drops, and he's only a 4. Blue Marvel's a 5 energy, so you can play them both and get crazy board-wide buffs. So they both have really strong abilities and should be up here. Angela is the last one. Angela is probably the best 2-drop in the game. As long as you get her on 2, she has a ton of value. She can essentially get +2 power every time you play something on that location. And if things get moved, you can continue to play things on top of her to give her even more. But a lot of times she'll be 8 power for 2 mana by the end of the game. She's a little bit like you can see it coming because you'll play Angela somewhere and your opponent now thinks, okay, well, they're going to play on top of her. It doesn't really matter. She offers that much value for 2 energy that she deserves a spot at S. So that's my pool 1 breakdown, guys. Let me know what you disagree with. Let me know what you agree with, where you would move things, etc. What I forgot, what I didn't, etc. I'm probably going to do this for pool 2 very soon since I'm through pool 2 already fully. And then ideally, once I get a little bit deeper into pool 3, I will do that as well. Hopefully you guys like the tier list type videos. Won't be doing them all the time, but I do think they're fun and good information for people to have out there looking to get started making their own decks. I'll probably make some videos about deck building in general coming up soon, but hopefully this helps you just kind of see where I think the power level of certain cards are. Don't take this as gold. Take this all with a grain of salt. This is all biased based on my opinion, and some of these cards you might have really good success with. So try everything, as always, and keep on snapping.